Welcome back for another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. I am your host, Kristen Goss, founder and owner of KWG, Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. And today I have with me our esteemed guest, David Akiva. He's
Hello.
a certified public accountant. Thank you for being here, David.
And thank you for having me. It's great to be here today.
Awesome. So I wanted to first start off with just you sharing your story about how you ended up getting into accounting and the extent of your services, and then we'll go from there. So if you could tell the audience about yourself.
Of course. Once again, David Akiva here in South Florida, born and raised. What got me into accounting was, I was just saying this earlier, in a high school class, I remember the teacher, Miss Finkelstein, did a day of understanding what is a budget. And in that moment, that's what got me into like the whole financial background. And then when I was navigating college, I was like, how can I still stay in finance, but yet still have like some social aspect? Because I was working through Best Buy at the time, and I knew I loved interacting with people as a salesperson. And then a family mentor of mine said, you have the skills. You should be a tax accountant. So I decided to go through taxes when I first started my accounting career, which was great because I communicated with people, I helped people with tax planning, and I was able to actually get more in-depth knowledge of the financial statements of the company, background, partnerships, estates. Then when I saw what was kind of like AI infiltrating accounting, I kind of understood with accounting, one aspect that is necessary in businesses is judgment calls and actually analyzing in that regards risks. So I had some experience doing taxes. Then I decided to go get my master's in forensic accounting and business valuations. And that's when I took a turn into transactions advisory and as well as litigation support. And now currently that's what my role is right now as a forensic accountant, helping in collaborative process and as well as family law, being a financial expert. It's been really awesome. I think what also intrigued me was, Al Capone, how the FBI was able to get him was the IRS. So that moment with Al Capone is when the IRS Criminal Investigation Unit was created because they found him doing tax evasion. So out of all the illegal activities, they weren't able to pin it on him, but they were able to pin tax evasion. It's interesting when you hear a lot of the story cases in the news, like Broward lady embezzled $1.9 million. There's an accountant behind it. So the forensic accounting has always been something I've been interested in. I actually, before taking this journey to forensic accounting, I was actually looking to become an IRS agent just because I thought it was so interesting to help out and as well as to be a federal employee because of those insurance benefits. Those are really good. So I think that's what, propelled my interest into family law because it's great to help people in divorces and as well as in collaborative processes. And it's great feedback from my skill set because when I go to sleep at night, I know I'm doing something rather than when I was doing tax returns. Tax planning, you can help someone save about 100,000, 200,000, 20,000. But then when you give them a tax bill, they're so upset about the cost. And that's I didn't feel good. But when I'm now doing valuation services, when I'm helping people with litigation support, they're so happy to pay the fees. And that's what makes me happy because I don't have to, kind of beg for them. They understand the value that I'm given. And that's really what helps me out and, gives me fulfillment at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And definitely your services are something that are valuable in the collaborative process and in any family matter. I noticed that you mentioned expert work as well. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast was to just spread the word about the collaborative process, that it's another option out there for anyone finding themselves going through a divorce or any family legal matter, paternity, modifications of alimony, child support, time sharing, and the like. And it's something that attorneys like myself should be consulting when someone comes to you and asks for advice and direction when they have a family matter.
Right.
That's one of the options that should be discussed in addition to mediation and litigation and the other options that are available.
Right.
And so that's how you and I met, through the collaborative process.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, and I hate to say this as a professional, but I never really knew what a forensic accountant did
Yeah.
before getting and delving really into a lot of the litigation, as time went on, and especially collaborative, because we utilize as a team, your role is really, really crucial when it comes to assessing the assets and debts of someone
Correct.
who's going through a divorce. So can you explain a little bit more about the forensic accounting piece and
Absolutely.
how your services really come into play in the collaborative process, but also when you are serving as an expert witness?
So forensic accounting sounds like forensic investigator. It actually is. So we're using accounting skills that we've picked up through auditing, tax skills, financial statement reading, to analyze financial statements, analyze financial information for litigation support, either through a business dispute, shareholder disputes, anything that is in question with financial information. We're looking at things like tracing, vouching. It's kind of similar to the auditing skills, but this time for supporting analysis. So, for instance, as a financial neutral, what I would do is kind of take the bank statements, look at the verifications of transfers and things that are coming in, to verify that all bank statements are vouched accounted for. Any outsourced balance sheet items are identified. Anything, the liability sections are, presented fairly. All equity is actually there. And it gives both sides a full disclosure. So it's very important to have a forensic accountant, as you know, in a dispute when it comes to family issues, because my job is to give confidence in the numbers, not in any type of opinion, just what the numbers are. And as well as, I'm sure you're aware, income disputes, where one family member doesn't know how much the other family member is making. And that's where I come involved in seeing all the deposits and, identifying which deposit is actually income and which deposit is cash being deposited that he already earned before or she earned before. I think that kind of answers it. Also, forensic accounting is used in business, transactions. So if you're looking to acquire a business or looking to invest in a business, the best thing to do is hire a valuation specialist, which uses forensic accounting skills to spread out the financial statements in a 5-year period and see where the growth is going and where the projected or forecast financial statements are going. We look at industry comparables and we use comps just like a real estate agent does when you're looking to purchase a house to see if you're purchasing the house on a fair value of what other people would pay. So, there's other avenues. So, family disputes, you're looking at litigation disputes, business disputes. It's all encompassing, really. It's fascinating.
And I'm sure you've seen it all.
I've seen a lot,
Yeah.
but the cool thing is there's always things different.
Yeah.
Every accounting, project is different. Every tax return is different. Every business valuation is different. My favorite is doing valuation work because you get to see the companies and how they started them, the stories, there's so much emotion attachment that these owners have either A, selling their business, or B, which is my favorite, is when they're handing down their business to families and loved ones. And that is also a tax implication that a lot of people don't understand. They think that if I just leave the business to my son, do they have a will? Do they have an estate, set up for it? What are the tax implications of that? Are they going to be paying the estate taxes on it? And as you know, a lot of people forget that, we're all going to pass away. And I'm trying to say this lightly, that you should have everything in order for your loved ones, that when you pass away, it's an easy transition rather than family members fighting, oh, hey, I was supposed to get 80% of the ownership, not 20. And leaving that burden to your families, it will destroy a family. And that's one of the saddest things I've seen, is that when you don't have wills or estates and things set up, it could really destroy A, the business, and B, the family. And it's sad. One of the happier moments I've seen was this mother of two. She was able to pass down her nail salon to both of her daughters in a nice transition. She wanted to retire. She just wanted to be the face and the daughters take care of it. And we did a nice simple valuation for them so that we could just pass it down to the estate. And that was one of the nicer ones because it was very easy and fun. I got a pedicure out of it.
Oh, that's always good.
Yeah, it was one of the best tour sites of a business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned about the estate side, because that's also some of the services KWG offers is the estate planning. And I'm sure, like, if you're not aware out there, this is the expert here as far as those taxes, because the limit is going up to 13.990 in 2025, and then 2026 it may be going down to 7 million.
Right.
And so if your estate is over 7 million in 2026, potentially you could have
implications. Absolutely.
Estate tax. So I don't know if there's anything additional you wanted to add in regards to that.
No, I would say this is the perfect time as we're coming into the new year to talk to your professional, talk to a financial planner, talk to a CPA, and it's always beneficial for you. Did you know that having a CPA in your life will save you about 20% of your income? It's a very large percentage when you look at the grand scheme of things. So it's very important, here with Joseph, Soman and Stewart, we can definitely help anyone who needs that help. A nice consultation call, we'll definitely talk to you and help you. And everybody's situation is different. So that's the best thing, is that we have a team of 4. We're able to help you out, and we're knowledgeable in that field.
Very much so.
I wanted to say that one thing that is really nice about having an accountant and a lawyer, you should always have those 2 people in your back of your pocket. Just when it comes to asking simple questions, I'm sure you're familiar with it. And I wanted to say it's important to have a forensic accountant at the start of looking at an estate or looking at maybe whether if you're deciding to go to collaborative or to have some family disputes, just because you get that full disclosure. And, that's very important, to understand what documents are being shot at you. Because a lot of my clients, they tell me, listen, I'm not a financial guy. I don't know what's going on. So we can help calm everything down and understand that this is not a battle. We're not raising our pitchforks. We're trying to use our brains, settle down, and understand and digest the information. Because a lot of actions are based on emotions, not logic. And that hurts people after like 2 or 3 years. They realize that they could have done B or C rather than they went with A, where, that you want to make sure you have all the different scenarios in front of you, and you can pick your story and where you want to go.
That allows someone to maintain control, and I think you're so right on in regards to that. On the legal side, I see, oftentimes, unfortunately, people acting on emotions, like you say, because it's one of those areas of the law, especially in family law, where logic is going down, emotions are
Up.
rising,
Yeah.
opposed to criminal defense work
Mm-hmm.
with some of my attorney friends in that arena. They say, their clients are in their best behavior because they have a lot at stake. But I think that's so key and so important what you said. And so, based on that comment, does it make sense for someone to come to you as a forensic accountant right off the bat when either they are contemplating a divorce or they've been served paperwork? And, finances, especially, is one of those key aspects that can either make or break a case that a lot of people end up stuck on, I think, the longest in legal cases. So what are your suggestions in regards to that?
That is a very good question. Thinking about it right now, I would say if a client would come to me, I'm actually still going to advise to talk to a council member like yourself, because we're working together. I'm your supporting role. I'm your backbone. And I would recommend working with a lawyer right away. And yes, I would say having an accountant from as soon as you're served papers is important. But your lawyer will tell you whether we need the accountant or not. Just because are we dealing with a financial dispute that's very complex? For instance, calculating the 401k interest in a marital dispute. You do have an interest in some of the assets that are coming into the marriage when it gains actually market gain. So that small portion could be yours. I was just mentioning the income part of your spouse. If they're having their own, painting business, or they're actually their own business owner, a lot of business owners don't pay themselves a salary. So they just take it from the company and they say the company pays all the bills. So we calculate an income for child support, alimony reasons. So I would say definitely it's beneficial to have a forensic accountant in the start. I know if some clients would come to me, the moment I would do is I have a couple of lawyers. We can communicate which one do you like. Some people like an aggressive attorney. Some people like the smart, calm, passive attorney. So it's basically based on their personality. But I would, recommend having an accountant right on the onset of any negotiation or any talks when it comes to family issues. I also would, if you're looking to purchase a business or invest on the onset of negotiations, it's always great to have an accountant in your corner, because you understand the game, but do you understand the plan that you're going to take on when you go to the court? And I mean court in like sporting event, not court in court. So yeah, I think it's beneficial to have it in the beginning.
Remind me, because I have possibly a referral for you for that. So I did have a question, though, in regards to qualified domestic relations order. That's something for those of you out there who are in the midst of a divorce or contemplating a divorce. If you or your spouse have a retirement account, say a 401k, IRA, a lot of times in the process, we have to determine what's marital versus non-marital. And in order to do that, oftentimes a qualified domestic relations order is done by an expert, not myself. I do not specialize in quadros, is what we shorten it as. But my question to you is, do you do quadros?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was just working on a case before the holidays where he had several retirement accounts coming into the marriage, and we had to calculate what percentage of marital funds were being donated into the retirement account, how long were they married for, and we look at that and we determine a percentage of what goes to the spouse and what goes to the original owner, because it's very important, and especially with a lot of females right now who are making more than their significant other, that when you go to the court, the judge is just going to see a number and go split it down the half. And maybe that's not true. Maybe it was actually 80% hers and then 20% in the marriage. So it's very important to make sure that the allocation of assets is done on an equitable and fair percentage rather than what is deemed equitable, because
So
what's
true.
deemed equitable could be not accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important, especially when it comes to the allocation of assets.
Mm-hmm.
Liabilities, that's also very important too,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to take on some credit card debt that's non-marital.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of, like you said, emotional happens when the separation starts and the other spouse member takes a credit card and goes on a spending spree. So there's been some cases where that has happened too, that we've had to show that these expenses were not based on marital purchases. It was a squandering of funds.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to deem that as, to the other person's chart in the equitable distribution.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really good question.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing coming your way. Is there anything that you haven't said about your services or you in general that you would want the audience to know? Let's say we have someone out there that is contemplating a divorce, doesn't know which way or direction to turn when it comes to your services. What piece of advice would you have for them?
So, one thing I would also recommend is doing the collaborative process. I find it as a more holistic approach where we're thinking about other family members in the divorce. For instance, your children, what impact is that going to cause them? And in the collaborative process, that's what we're looking out for the most, is how can we do this in a manner that doesn't destroy the family bonds? I understand that, the family is no longer going to be the same, but how can we do this in a way where we're still together in an amicable way? So where it doesn't affect the children's, as it's going to affect them, but not as much as it would be. I would say definitely for any clients out there, or anyone who's thinking about, potentially separating, is contact your lawyers and ask them about the collaborative process. It's also a much more feasible manner of going through a divorce rather than, there's always this skeptic that, oh man, the courts are going to take all my money, the all the court fees and everything. So if you're looking for something that is a much more effective and easier route, collaborative process can be that route for you. And as well as, I would say, one thing that my firm does and I is give back to the community, and we like to do cases on a pro bono rate. So if, for instance, we did a domestic violence case here in Miami where the mother didn't really have any funds and it was an order of domestic violence, the separation, we represented her in court for free to, give back to the community. So we've done cases like that. So that's one thing, if it's too small, don't worry, we'll still take you on. If it's too big, that's great, but we always like to give back to the community.
That's so important, because especially nowadays, it's hard to come by. Everything is, a lot of things, not everything, a lot of things are beyond our control, right? The economy is different. It has changed. And so when you come across those, it's something simple, but missing, I think, in today's society. So just the spirit of giving and giving back to those in need, that's awesome, admirable.
Absolutely. And especially as professionals, I take it on my onus is to help out. A mechanic, a lawyer, a doctor, giving back to the community is what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell the audience, David, how can they reach you if they had more questions about what you do, if maybe they are contemplating a divorce or some other family matter and may need your services. What would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way is to look us up on our website, Soman Stewart's Forensic Accountants down here in South Florida. You can look me up online as David Akiva, CPA. I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram. You can find me online. And you can always give me a call, and I'll always answer my line, no matter what hour of the day it is. Our cell phones are connected to us like glue, so I'm always available.
And that I can vouch for. He's very, very responsive. So I appreciate that.
And speaking of that, it's very important for professionals nowadays to be responsive. And I think that's one thing that our firm, holds true, is that our clients appreciate, and as well as our lawyers appreciate it when we get feedback to them or contact them right away. Some line of, hey, listen, I'm still thinking of you. I have the file in my hand. We're working through it. Or, here's the final product. So we like the final product.
Yeah. Always good to see, people going from point A to point Z
Yeah.
better. Like they come to you, they are in need of services, and they walk out and they, are feeling like the world, they can really accomplish certain things and move forward in a positive direction. So yeah, I love that.
Great.
So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time.
This
and
was fun. Thank you
the nuggets
for
of
inviting
wisdom
me.
you provided.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is it for now. You have watched another episode of Civility Wins. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We are Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition, another episode. I am Kristen Goss, your host, founder and owner of KWG, Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. Tune in for next time for another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. Take care.